I want to talk to you now about the law of modeling. And the law of modeling just says it's hard to improve when you have no one else but yourself to follow. That you really need to have a good model, somebody that is in front of you, that is a little bit bigger than you, a little bit better than you, that can begin to mentor and pour into your life. I've always believed that the most important words a leader can ever share with his or her people are the words, "Follow me." There's something beautiful about a leader who says, I'm going to be an example for you. I'm going to flesh out visually for you how to lead and how to be the person that you want to be. The greatest motivational principle in the world is people do what people see. And if life is anything, and if leadership is anything, it's visual. We really see it. And the modeling, the mentoring, it's nothing more than fleshing out life and leadership for people. Stanford research says that how we learn is this way. We learn 89% of what we learn visually. 10% we learn audio, and 1% through the other senses. And that what I've discovered about life is more caught than taught. And if it's taught without being caught, it's shallow. It has to be something that we see, that we feel, that we experience. I saw an equation one time that says a pint equal a gallon. I thought, what in the world does that mean, a pint equal a gallon? I got a little closer, and it said a pint of example equals a gallon of advice. And I thought how true that is. Again, this is something that's very incredibly visual. And so I want to talk to you just a little bit about it and how to visualize life and leadership for other people. You see, moral authority, and to me the highest authority a person can have, much higher than title authority or even reputation authority, is moral authority. And moral authority is beautiful because it's given to us because it's been earned by our walk, not by our talk. That there's an authority that people have said, this person has lived this for so long, this person has fleshed this out for so long, and there's a respect and a level of authority that you get. I remember when I was younger, they taught me that your talk talks and your walk talks, but your walk talks a lot more than your talk talks. And I thought, how simple, but how true it is. We can either talk our way as a leader or we can walk our way as a leader. And what I've noticed is this. In the beginning of our relationship with people, in the beginning of our leadership relationship with people, words are very important. What we say, people take at face value because they don't know us. So those first few months, whatever you say to people, they basically are writing it down, they're taking notes, they're saying, I got it, I believe it. But what happens is, as we continue to stay with those people, and as we continue to lead those people, there's something very interesting that happens. The longer we're with them, the less weight our words have, and the more weight our actions have. In the beginning, they just don't know us, so they don't even know about our actions. They don't even know about our behavior. So in the beginning of that relationship, what we say, they just take it face value. But as we grow in that relationship, as they watch us, pretty soon, the words begin to weigh less and the actions begin to weigh more. That's why my mentor friend John Wooden used to tell his players, don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do. He'd say, John, talk's real cheap. I don't want them just to tell me what a good game they're going to play. I want them to show me that game. I want to see it in their life. And leadership confusion is when we give good advice and we set a bad example. And I see it happen all the time, where we sit down and we can tell people what they really need and what they really need to do, but we don't back it up with our behavior. And so I wrote this down because I want to make sure that I get it to you because it's important for you to catch it. When your people hear you talk and you're not leading by example, you're not only going to confuse your people, eventually you're going to lose your people. I'll repeat it. When they hear you talk, but you're not backing that talk up by example, you not only confuse your people, but it's only a matter of time until you lose your people. Or as Mark Twain said one time, he said, to do right is wonderful. To teach others to do right is even more wonderful and much easier. So easy to get up and tell people what to do, but it's so harder to back it up. So in this modeling, in this mentoring, what are the qualities of a person that you want to follow? If follow me are the most important words, then what are the qualities of that person that you just really want to look for as a person that's going to maybe mentor me or is going to be a model in my life? So let me give them to you. These are very, very simple. Number one, a worthy example. I want to follow somebody that's just a worthy example. Every leader tells. Every leader casts vision, but few leaders show. And as I've grown older, I can tell you for myself, I pay a lot less attention to what people say and a lot more attention to what people do. And when I was younger and I was looking for that model, that mentor in my life, I was looking for somebody that I could say, someday I want to be like you. Someday I want to be just like you. A worthy example. Somebody that just is the kind of person that I want to be like. Another thing that I look for in somebody that will be a mentor that's going to model for me is proven experience. I want to have somebody, if they're really going to lead in my life, I want them to have walked the road further than I have walked the road. I want them to be down that road a little further than where I am. The old Chinese proverb that I like so well is, to know the road ahead, ask the people coming back. Just ask them, what's ahead of me? And one of the things I've discovered is that people, they want to follow successful people. So I tell people all the time, if you really want to be a leader, you've got to have credibility, and the credibility that you have to have is you've got to have been successful. And in fact, about 2 years ago, I wrote this and put it on a card, and it's just a mentoring piece. And it sounds a little more harsh than sometimes I feel, but when I wrote it, it just kind of was raw in my life, and I felt it. Never receive counsel from unproductive people. Why would you let someone speak into your life that's not productive? Let me go on. Never discuss your problems with someone incapable of contributing to the situation, because those who never succeed themselves are always the first to tell you how. It gets better. Not everyone has a right to speak into your life. You're certain to get the worst of the bargain when you exchange ideas with the wrong person. This one's kind of simple. Don't follow anyone who's not going anywhere. With some people, you spend an evening. With others, you invest it. And finally, I put down, be careful where you stop to inquire for directions along the road of life. You just don't want everybody to speak in your life. You just don't want to follow everybody. Margaret and I, for a few years, lived in a condo in Florida. Really liked it. Just take good care of you, and easy in, easy out. And with my lifestyle, it was pretty wonderful. And we were having dinner one night with a couple friends from the condo. They're highly, highly, highly successful people. And Paul and Vicky were their names. And we were having dinner with them. And so I'm asking questions, as I always do at dinner time or any time. And so I asked them, I said, what's the best advice that you ever received? And Paul looked at me and said, well, he said, I don't know if I could say it's the best advice I ever received, but he said, there's something I do that has really helped me in life. And a highly successful person like that, I'm saying, okay, tell me, what do you do that's really helped you in life? And what he told me had such great insight and wisdom. He said, when I'm around another person that's highly successful, if they're about 10 years older than me, I ask them, what do I need to know for the next 10 years? Since you've just traveled that journey, what do I need to know? Help me out. What are the pitfalls? What do I need to know for the next 10 years of my life? What should you pass on to me? And then he said, John, I don't ask that of people way older than me, because he said, they've forgotten. I kind of took that personal for a moment. Come on, Paul, quit looking at me like that. He said, I really don't. But he said, what I do is but I really want to know if they've just got, he said, the people that are going to help me the most are the ones who just took the journey right before I have to take it. And I thought to myself, what great advice. And then that evening, he spent the rest of the evening talking to me about what some of the people had told him 10 years ahead and how things that had directed and helped him. And I just thought to myself, people really want to follow somebody that's been the journey, has done the road, and has been very successful. I mean, think about it. If you're going to follow somebody, somebody's going to be your mentor, somebody's going to be your model. No one, I don't think, maybe someone has, but weird, but most of it, no one ever gets up in the morning and says, oh my gosh, I would just love to follow somebody that's, I don't know, just been married and divorced, I don't know, half a dozen times. Just, my gosh, I got some relationship, I got some marriage problems. I wonder who's just, like had 5 experiences in this. No, I don't think anybody's ever said that. And nobody's ever said, I am in deep financial trouble. I've got to find a bankrupt friend. Got to find someone just kind of lost it all. You know what I'm talking about? They have no money at all, and I just like to talk to them and ask them, wow, how can I get my financial act together? It just doesn't happen. When you think of how you get credibility as a leader, the greatest way is to produce. And what I've discovered is so many people, they kind of want to lead, but they've never done anything. They've never been successful. And I guess the question is, if you've really never been successful, if you've never really brought home the bacon, if you've never done that, who would you be leading? And even maybe a crazier question is, who would want to follow you? If LeBron James and I were up here and LeBron says, okay, let's play some basketball, John. Let's choose up sides. And so LeBron's looking out over all of you, and he's getting ready to pick somebody to be on the team. Well, I know what you're all doing. You got your hands in the air. Come on, LeBron, pick me, pick me, pick me. And then when LeBron is done, it's my turn, and you're all ducking behind your chairs. You say, oh my gosh, hope he doesn't see me, hope he doesn't see me. Now, there's a reason why you want LeBron to pick you. You want LeBron to pick you because you know that if he does, you'll be on the winning side. And if you're on my team, you're going to lose. And nobody ever says, oh my gosh, I'd just like to follow an ineffective leader. And it would be so, I wonder if I could just lose every day of my life. Wouldn't that be amazing just to come in second all the time and just lose? No. So this whole thing of who are you going to follow? Pick somebody that's successful. If you're going to pick somebody that can help you win and teach you how, because they win all the time. And remember, if they're not winning, they can't teach you how to win. Always amazes me people who can't do something training other people. And I always say, no, excuse me, what are we training them for? Incompetence? Another thing I look for is, you talk about a model or somebody that you want to follow, I look for teachability. I look for people who have what I would call a teachable spirit. People who really have the desire to keep learning. And let me say how do I pick out a person that has that spirit of learning and that teachable attitude? There are several ways to do this, but the way that I find is the most is I can tell a person is teachable when they're very open and honest about their failures in life. You've got to get over the failures. And I think that this is so huge for a lot of us to be able to, we've got to be able to teach out of our losses. And when I was a younger leader, if you had heard me 30 years ago teaching, you wouldn't have heard me teaching out of my losses. You'd heard me teaching out of my gains. You'd hear me talking to you about how good I was and how well I did it and how successful I was and that whole process. And I've come to the conclusion that if you want to impress people, talk about your success. But if you want to impact people, talk about your losses. Wow. And so if I'm going to have somebody teach me, I want it to be somebody that's very open and very honest about the things that they've done that didn't work out well and the lessons that they learned. I remember sitting one day, spending about a half a day again with Coach Wooden at UCLA. And I could remember him talking about his losses. And what he said to me was so important. He said, John, he said, as a coach, when we won, we learned very little. He said, it's hard to learn when you celebrate. But in our losses, we learned a lot. So one day I asked him about mentors and modeling. And I'm just passing on just a few thoughts that he gave me that day, because it was one of my best days ever with him. I said, Coach, when you look at somebody to mentor you, model, what do you think about? And he said, look, let me give you 4 things. He said, first of all, people watch what you do. So he went into this example, and we've already talked about the visualness of leadership. The second thing Coach said is that it's just easier to teach than it is to do it. That he said, as a coach, it's much easier for me to tell my players what to do than to show them what to do. And then he talked to me about, he said, change yourself before you try to change others. And improve yourself before you try to improve others. And then he said, number 4, a leader's example is the most valuable gift that you can ever give anybody. Now, I went to his place many times, and I sat at his feet a lot. One of the things that was always interesting to me is that he would have his phone, and it would be on a audio recording. And so when somebody would call, he would never answer it. If he was with me, he would never answer his phone. But they would call in his house phone, and they'd leave a message for him. So we're talking, and somebody's leaving him a message. And I never spent any time with him, ever, at his house, that he didn't get a call from one of his former basketball players. And, I mean, it could be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, my gosh, it could be Bill Walton. They would always say something like this: hey, Coach, this is Bill checking in with you. Love you. How you doing? Wanted just to tell you for a couple of moments how important you've been in my life. Thanks. Have a good day. And I would just listen to this. And I would just say to myself, what an incredible model. What an incredible mentor. The first time I went out to see him, I remember, I think I shared with you that the guy named Jeff, a teacher in Orlando, I asked him one day, who should I know that you know? And he said, you need to know Coach Wooden. And so about a month later, he took me out to Los Angeles, and so we spent half a day with him. It was a great time. So we now are leaving his little condo there, and going through kind of going down the elevator, and so we're coming out to the parking lot where our car was. And I got just about to where the car was, and Jeff said, "Turn around, John." So I turned around, and I looked up on the porch where Coach Wooden lived, and he was standing on that little porch balcony, and he was waving goodbye. And I thought, man, he saw us all the way to the car. And so we waved back. I got in the car, and Jeff said, he always waves. Whenever you go see him, always turn around when you're about in the car. He's already there waiting, waving to you. And that day, as I got back on the plane, I wrote down 3 simple wave lessons I learned from the coach. And the first wave lesson is, I'm important. I'm important. He, when I left this little place, he wasn't content just to let me leave. He wanted to get out there on the porch and make sure that one more time he just touched me. I felt important. The second thing I thought is, man, actions speak louder than words. That wave, wow, I remember that wave. Wow, I do remember it in an amazing way. In fact, the thing that I think of more than anything else is all the times I saw him, and every time he would go out on the porch and he'd wave to me. And I just not only felt important, but I just thought, wow. You see, people will forget what you said, but they won't forget how you made them feel. And that wave was just such a kind of like the cherry on the top. You know what I'm saying? He just made me feel important, made me feel good. But so I'm important, and actions speak louder words. But the third thing that I learned from that little wave encounter was acknowledge your mentor. You see, when I would wave back to him, it was like, thanks, Coach. Thanks for giving me your time today. Thanks for depositing in your life. Thanks for caring enough for me and mentoring and just thanks for what you've done in my life. And so I just kind of remember those little wave lessons, and just remember that just acknowledge your mentor. I would encourage every one of you today, before the day's over, to get a card out and just write a couple lines to a person that's just greatly impacted your life. And by the way, let me just say something. Don't do email. Okay? Now, I know you're just saying, it's an old man speaking. It is an old man speaking. Don't do email. Write a card. Set yourself apart from others. Every time I come to Linda, I bring her a folder. In that folder, I just wrote a note to a fellow named Chris the other day that I needed to say thank you for. That's kind of the waving back that I'm talking about. Just wave back to them. Acknowledge your mentor. Modeling, it's a great thing. I would just encourage you to pick out those that you would like to be like, and then let others that watch you just see how you love them by your actions, by your wave, by modeling those things that they need to see.